happy today. I am William Brown from IamWilliamBrown.com. This is Disconnect to Connect, one word conversations. Right when I start, my phone starts doing all the things that it can do that kind of drive me crazy. I have this like these squirrel moments, right? But this is the time where I tell you about our sponsor, IamWilliamBrown.com, the place that has conversations and items to help you be yourself and live your life. One of the items that I showcase on the show often is the U cards that that sets the intention. It is also a part of the U game that you can create. So the intentions for this conversation is I am full of joy, you are worthy, and the quote card for today's show is the scripture Jeremiah 1:5. Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. And that is the you that I am endeavoring to invite you to connect to. So, with that in mind, we are going to have a conversation with the word align. And this word has been coming up for a number of days for me and probably weeks. And just looking at the alignment and finding alignment and balance we talked about the other day. And so I'm excited to have a conversation on this word. And so, as I do, I invite my guests and my to come in, and we'll have a conversation. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you doing?
I am doing great. This is the moment where I invite my guests to introduce themselves however it feels comfortable to them.
Cool. Well, I'm Dori Staehle, and as you can see, you're in my drum room. I own Next Stage Drumming. I'm the founder and CEO and Chief Encouragement Officer is what that stands for. And I use drumming in a very different way. What you see behind me is what I use for practicing and performing, but I do use all kinds of different drums, especially these djembes,
Right.
to help people focus, feel better, and find their joy. I work with a lot of kids and adults who are feeling stuck, scattered, and stressed out. So I've developed special techniques to help them literally and figuratively find their rhythm so that they can move forward in their lives. My specialty is kids and adults with ADHD issues. I have a very different take on ADHD. However, it takes one to know one. I think ADD stands for a delightful dreamer, and ADHD is a definitely hyper drummer. So,
Right.
so that's where I'm coming from. I came into this very late in life, as we will talk about. So for those of your viewers out there who think that they're too old or it's too late, I'm here to tell you, no, you're not. So you can do anything that you set your mind to. So yeah, I'm having fun. I'm doing what I love. I'm using drums to bless others. And if you knew my story, you'd know why. So we might get into that in a little bit.
Wonderful. I definitely appreciate it and welcome you to this conversation. So, how does the word align land for you?
Well, it's interesting that, I get that particular word because that's pretty much what this is all about for me. This is just a fraction of the drums I own. I actually have about 25 djembes in another room because I decided that it was time for me to move my gifts and talents forward. I had worked with so many young people over the years with other businesses, sometimes literally getting them on the stage. I did own a business called Next Stage Entertainment. And I found, groomed, and booked over 900 local young bands and solo artists and did a lot of really big concerts. So I was literally backstage most of the time.
Hmm.
And then suddenly I realized that was that season of life.
Right.
Now that I'm in this season, what do I want to do with my gifts and talents? What can I do to move my gifts forward? And I realized that I needed to be more in alignment with who I was and
Hmm.
also whose I was. You
Right.
mentioned Jeremiah in the beginning. I had to honor the person that God created me to be. And even though all the other businesses, I was helping people and I was blessing them, I really wasn't using a lot of my own gifts. So I needed to accept and acknowledge those gifts, but also accept my divine assignment and be more aligned with that at this phase of my life. So I literally moved myself on to the next stage, hence next stage dream.
Right. Wonderful. No, I really appreciate that. I think there is this, for me, there is this awareness of my alignment or how aligned I was or if I was off. And it's kind of me feeling that I didn't move, right? Or maybe I did move. I'm trying to kind of, sometimes it sounds great in my head, and then when and then when it comes out, it's like, okay, that's not what I was meant to say. No, I feel like alignment and me really kind of getting aligned to the call of my life, or just my life. It is what I put my attention to, right? What I'm focusing on, what I'm listening to. Too often I felt that when I was out of alignment or I wasn't aligned with, my design purpose, divine purpose, I will say, it was because my focus or my listening was somewhere else. It was on someone else's expectations, is what I thought I should be doing or what I thought other people believe that I should be doing. Hey, you're talented. You should be this. And it's like,
Exactly.
well, I don't want to do that, right? But
Exactly.
because I didn't have an awareness of what was calling me, I was like, well, they believe I can do this, so I can, so I'll do it until that runs its course. And so it is really. Was there anything that kind of happened that caused you to just get to the point that, hey, this is fine, but there's something more for me.
Yes, definitely. My defining moment, and when I really knew that I needed to drop some of the other things that I was doing, and I needed to stop trying to be what other people wanted me to be and assumed I would be. Dora, you've got an MBA in finance. You should be a business coach. That's what everybody kept telling me.
Right.
And I knew that I needed to really hone in and set myself apart from even people, others that are in the drumming community, because I'm very, very different. And that was the accident that changed everything. June 25th, 2011. 30 seconds completely changed my life. What happened? A speeding bicycle dude came out of nowhere and flew through the crowd that I was standing in. I was at a work event. I had a day job during the recession. Girl's got to do what she's got to do. This
Right.
was back when the recession started to just uh, gain some speed, and my businesses were kind of slowing down. So I took the sales and marketing position. We were standing outside at a reception with clients having snacks. And this
Right.
guy comes out of nowhere, and all I heard, three words that changed my life: Dori, look out. And it was a
Wow.
coworker. And
Wow.
I just kind of looked to the left and said, oh my gosh. And I didn't have enough time to get out of the way.
Right.
And I leaned back, which was a good thing, because I'm told if the handlebars hit my chest at that speed, I would have died on impact. Woohoo.
Wow.
So good to know that at least I avoided that, but he still hit me. And it was really hard. And as you can see, I don't exactly have a whole lot of padding.
Right.
So I went flying. And, I always joke about, being skinny and all that. How far can a skinny chick fly? Pretty far, apparently. Woo! Yeah, so I took quite a dive, but I never hit the ground. But I did kind of twist and spin on the way down to try to avoid the fall. I
Right.
thought I was
Wow.
safe. I did not know until gradually, first it was later that day, and then months and months to follow, that accident actually triggered a whole load of injuries and conditions. And I found that it triggered a rare disease 3 years later. I had been suffering for 3 years. I left the job after 3 months because I physically couldn't do it anymore. And I also sensed that season had passed for me.
Right.
It just wasn't where I needed to be.
Right.
And I needed to move on. So I did not know that I was going to be struggling for 3 years and fighting with doctors and insurance companies and trying to figure out what the heck was going on and why I was in so much pain and why I couldn't sit, stand, reach, or even sleep without being in extreme pain. I was forgetting words for things, didn't know that I had a concussion and whiplash. That would have been nice to know. I'd been walking around with that for apparently a year, which is not a good thing for a speaker or somebody who was doing SAT prep at the time. You want to be able to remember the right words for things at the right times. That's pretty important. And also it just created just so much emotional distress for me, because to not be able to do the things that you were doing, I had just gotten, I think I had about 8 drums at that point. I had just decided, yes, I'm going to add therapeutic drumming or drum therapy to the business that I had, which was educational consulting and tutoring. I had just discovered a few techniques that work with kids with ADHD issues. And I thought, are you kidding me? This is what I get for trying to help people for the past 20 years? I was really mad. I was not so much at the kid who hit me, because that was just a freak thing. 200 people in the crowd, and I was the only one hit. What are the odds of that? So at the time, and this is really important for viewers to consider, when bad things happen and that you're tempted to say, why me? How could this happen? Why me? Well, I realized, why not me, actually? Because of the people that were standing around me, I blocked the hit because I was spinning to try to remain upright and not smack my face onto the bricks. In doing so, I blocked 2 little girls to my right, because these clients had brought their families. It was kind of like a picnic kind of atmosphere.
Right.
If those 2 little girls got hit, they would have been severely injured. So everybody stepped back when I started spinning. So it could have been worse. A lot of people could have been injured. Also, I'm very, very flexible, former dancer, former runner, I'm swimming. I'm now doing pound exercise. I'm in really good shape. So I know how to fall, thanks to many years of running in New Jersey and Connecticut, in areas that they have lots of snow.
Right.
So I would have been injured worse if all those factors weren't considered. So you got to think about it. Okay. Also, had that accident never happened, I never would have discovered that drumming can actually help you heal. I know there's loads of scientific research and studies. I have a whole list if anybody wants. I mean, I got links galore. And I knew this, intellectually, I knew this. And I also knew that I had been doing some drumming events and things, and I had seen some pretty interesting results. And I thought, that's interesting. But I didn't realize that all of those studies were like 6 to 10 weeks long, in a group protocol with lots of people. But what I did was I asked God to give me a way to heal myself and others, because I couldn't stand it anymore. The doctors couldn't figure it out. They wanted to give me all these painkillers. I was scheduled for surgeries in my shoulder, in my knee, my ankle, and an invasive procedure on my spine, because guess what? The accident triggered a rare disease. I had cysts all over my spine. After an MRI, we discovered this. Awesome. It's called Tarlov cyst disease. It's a rare neurological degenerative disorder, and I was getting worse. I was having trouble walking. My legs would go numb sometimes, even while driving my stick shift. Not really good. Yes, officer, I did see that stop sign. I couldn't get my legs to work. He didn't believe me. Here's the ticket. Tell it to the judge, Yeah. But it was true. Here I was trying to live a normal life and pretending that everything was fine. The musician's credo, fake it till you make it, baby. And it wasn't working, and I was getting worse. And so that's when I said to God, I give up. Give me a way to heal myself and heal others. It wasn't just about me. I wanted to make sure that, it was a twofer.
Right.
Because I just don't see a way out of this. And I really didn't want to go on anymore if this is what I had to deal with. I had lost completely everything. I had savings was gone. I had no job. I had no income coming in. My husband was working, but I was the one that helped out with the extras, and I had to pay some bills. That was all gone. I couldn't do anything for myself. It was awful. So the answer I got back immediately was, Dori, open your eyes. I already did. Use the drums. I went, oh,
Right.
duh. Like the plumber always has a leaky faucet, right? I never thought to use the drums on myself.
Right. Yeah.
So what I did for 2 weeks only, I drummed for my life, literally.
Hmm.
Every day I drummed on a djembe and a Native American buffalo drum, which uses a mallet and gives off really big vibrations. And I drummed between 15 minutes and a half an hour a day, again, 2 weeks. And I just did basic beats and rhythms and just said things as I was drumming, like the cysts are going away, the cysts are going away. Can't hit the drum as loud as I do because I don't want to blow out anybody's eardrums, especially if
Well,
you're wearing
thank you.
earbuds. But I was mad. So I was drumming at some points, I was drumming really hard and tears were streaming down my face because I thought, you know, a rare disease. I never thought of that, this. So fortunately, drumming and divine intervention did in 2 weeks what the doctors couldn't do in 3 long years. And I
Hmm.
was totally fine. Everything was gone. The pain, the numbness, the brain fog, the balance issues, the mixing up words. And oh, yes, I took a lovely trip to the dark side. Depression gone, ADHD gone. So
Right.
my question at that point was, well, how did that work? How am
Right.
I going to explain this? No one's going to believe me. But consider the fact that people on Facebook and everywhere else, come on, people, you do this. You ask for prayers, don't you? You always say, can you please pray for my mom, my brother, my sister, my dog?
Right.
If you don't expect that prayers are going to be answered and that something's going to happen because of prayer, then why do you ask? Huh? I asked and I received. That's all
Right.
I know. I think it's because uh, God knew that there was something that I could do with this in a really big way. I didn't see it at
Right.
the time, but now my eyes are like, oh my gosh, because more and more opportunities are coming and I'm making more discoveries on my own of the different beats and rhythms that I can use to help different issues.
Right.
So this was like opened up not only my eyes, but it also opened up so many opportunities that I never in a million years would have thought of. If you would have told me even just, 10 years ago that
Right.
I would be driving around with a boatload of drums in my car at age 61, I would have told you you're nuts because I wasn't even drumming at that point. I was doing percussion for my church band at the time, taught myself how to play, basic beats and rhythms. I could jump in, pass the audition. I don't know how because I had no experience and no lessons, but hey, I got in and I stayed with them for like 13 years. So I got a little bit better. So I knew how to play percussion and play songs and all kinds of cool stuff. So that much I knew, but I didn't think I was going to make a business out of it. I was just
Right.
doing it for fun. So I had
Right.
to kind of switch my whole mindset from using drumming for entertainment or for praise and worship to now I can use drumming to help people heal, get unstuck, feel better, and move on to the next stage of their lives. So
Right.
again, it's
So
a win-win.
no, I mean that was, I mean it was fascinating and incredible share there, and I really appreciate it. And it's like sometimes the I guess the traumas in our lives, that can or liberate us, or in some cases, people can feel that they can defeat us, right?
Yes. Oh, yeah.
And so I really appreciate that. I guess the journey, of really, being connected to your purpose and all the things that you were doing. What I got from it was that there was a category, or there was a place or a segment that you put drumming, right? But through this accident you were able to expand that, and it wasn't like your life, but it was something that the purpose of the drumming wasn't just, as you said, entertainment or for show or anything like that, but it was for the healing and a lot of other connecting
Right.
things that happen. I mean, we use
Yeah.
music to do a lot of things, but sometimes we just put it in the category of entertainment only. But there's a
Right.
lot of other things happening, and I think once you got aligned to from my thinking and from my hearing, aligned to, hey, there is an element of enjoyment that happens with drumming. There's a level of enjoyment and healing and a lot of other things, and you just really embrace that. It was not only you were able to heal yourself, but really transform other people and how they're showing up and how they can embrace that. And so it's just like I
Yeah.
said, it's just fascinating to really see how just having that awareness or gaining that awareness about your drumming
Well, and that's
really
why it's
transform your life.
definitely, that's why it was so hard for me during that accident. Yeah, I could coach people online, and I did some business and success coaching and some ADHD coaching virtually because I couldn't move, So I thought, okay, I'll deal with this for a while. But all along, whenever I heard music, I remember a scene. My husband and I, we were driving in the car, and a song came on that the church band that I was in used to play. Keep in mind, this was a rocking band. Pastor always called us the flock that rocks. We
Right.
played cover. We played, like classic rock. We actually would play cover tunes if it matched the message. And some tune came on with wailing lead guitar. And I sat there and tears just started streaming down my face. And my husband, good thing I wasn't driving, right? My husband said, are you okay? I said, no. I said, I really miss drumming. And at that point, the pain levels were so bad, I had to take a break from the band because I couldn't reach and play the bongos and the congas, for example, because it was too
Right.
hard and my shoulder was, and I could feel, I had a tear in my shoulder. I knew it. And I could feel it every time. And then my tailbone. So I just having to take a break for a year or so and give up something that brought me so much joy was
Right.
really hard. And then I realized, yes, drumming not only brings me joy, it brings joy to people who drum with me. I get that all
Right.
the time. I tell people,
Mm.
I can't promise that the healing will take place, but I
Right.
can promise you this, you will have fun, you will
Right.
laugh and smile, and the stress will melt away. And so if nothing else, at least you can say you had a fun time. You tried something that was definitely, out of the ordinary. So you pushed yourself,
Right.
pushed your comfort zone a little bit, and you found something that's just so much fun. And it's easy. If you can count, you can drum. Who wouldn't want to whack on a drum is what I always say.
Right. What is it's like the question that I have because I got a drum when I turned 50 and still I guess don't consistently use it. I also got a guitar when I was like 48. So, I mean, so I have two instruments that I'm not playing in my house that one day, that's going to
Mhm.
happen. But I think the question that's come up, there's a lot of things in my culture and a lot of other cultures, how drumming is important, and there's a lot of
Right,
messages and healing
right.
and everything. What do you believe, I guess, the power of drumming and connecting to yourself and to who you are that happens within that?
And you're right. That is a good point. That people should know that that's the background and the history of drumming. It's been used for centuries by
Right.
Native American tribes, by African tribes, and many other countries. Just about every country out there has different kinds of drums that they use for different reasons. And so Native American tribes and the African tribes, they were using it mainly for three things: communication, celebration, and healing. So it does go way back. Now, as far as I'm concerned, because I'm more of a rock chick, my specialty is rock, Latin, and funk. I don't do cultural drumming,
Right.
and what I do, I don't really consider it a drum circle per se. There are loads of drum circle facilitators out there that do add in West African drumming, for example, and they're very, very good at it. It's just not my thing. I don't do African beats, and I don't do it for cultural purposes. We
Right.
usually close out with a rockin' tune because I can.
Right. So no, I think it's very interesting. It's something for me. It feels like really tribal, and I wanted to, like you said, everybody just wants to beat on something. I am, right, to kind
Yeah.
of get and I think when I turned 50 and things like that, there were some things that I wanted to beat out. If I couldn't say it, I just kind of like pounded around on the drum, and I think I've found my words, and so
And
and
it's
it's like,
true.
right, it's and there's another thing. I don't know if it's a conditioning for me, is that just making too much noise. I don't ever want people to think that I'm making too much noise, and so maybe I need to just get past that, right?
Oh, dude, we got to work on that.
you know,
Yeah. Well, it's funny because usually well, before pandemic kicked in, I was teaching 6 free classes a month at the Fuquay Arena Community Center.
right,
All the classes were generously sponsored by the town of Fuquay. Woohoo! So very, very nice.
right,
Which means Dori got paid, but everybody can participate for free. I brought
right,
the drums and the instruction.
right,
And so a lot of people, especially the women, they'd start out, they'd all have a djembe like this, and they would all be like very, very tentative, like tap, 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 tap. I'm like, is that all you got? Hit that thing.
right,
And there you go.
right,
I said, come on, I know it's in there. I know it's
right,
in there. Give it all you got. And it's like I had to
right,
give them permission. And even
right,
with private clients that I've worked with, and people come to me for all different reasons, I always say, what's going on with you today? I've got a beat for that. So
right.
people need to
Wow.
realize that drum therapy is different than a drum lesson. I am the one and only certified drum therapist in the state of North Carolina and probably the South. I originally trained with an organization known as Drums and Disabilities because I wanted to help kids with ADHD and autism specifically.
Hmm.
So that's a whole different, it's totally different than, for example, a drum circle or a drum lesson. I do have a few private drum students, taught myself how to play the drum kit, so now I can teach others. But that's different. A drum lesson, the purpose of that is learning to play the drum parts of a song that you're trying to learn.
Right.
Drum therapy is using beats and rhythms to achieve non-musical outcomes.
Hmm.
So
Got it.
they might be perhaps need some more focusing because they have a whole lot of static in the attic, as I call it. They just can't
Right.
focus worth beans. They might be stressed out. They might have a lot of anxiety. I'm seeing a surge of this in teens.
Right.
And now with a lot of people going through, the pandemic and having to work from home. So you just never know. I've also seen kids on the autism spectrum who have great rhythm, by the way, and kids who have some sort of physical thing going on where they might need to build up the muscles, for example, on their right side. So we might have to do different exercises to do that. I
Right.
do a lot of work with something known as brain integration, syncing up the
Right.
left and right hemispheres of the brain so that you can focus and feel better. I realized this with my accident. A lot of people thought that perhaps I had had a stroke because it was similar symptoms. I had to
Right.
regain the feeling in my legs. It just wasn't communicating with my brain. I kept trying to say, okay, legs, go up the steps. I had such a hard time going upstairs. I
Right.
knew how to walk, but my legs it's like I got nothing doing. And so
Right.
I realized that I could use brain integration exercises to help everything sync together and work together. So it not only helps you physically, but it also helps with communication. So I discovered that's like a trickle down effect. If
Right.
a client or student can follow my beats and rhythms, even in a class, then we are synced up. We are simpatico, the process is called entrainment. So once you can all achieve that and you're all right on the beat, then it's like you're hearing each other. It's
Right.
like, I feel you. I
Right.
understand where you're coming from. I understand your rhythm. This is my rhythm. And sometimes we take turns
Right.
and we'll express our beats and rhythms and feelings through the drums. And
Right.
it's amazing how that process works,
It's
even
it's
with families.
Right. And and that's, getting aligned, getting together, finding the alignment. I really think that we could talk about this forever, and I'm sure
We could.
the longer that we stay, you'll probably, hit the drums, right? You're right.
I'll be playing.
So
I'll be playing.
right,
I'll be
so I
jumping
mean,
back there.
and then we'll have a concert. But is there anything, like one last thing that you want to leave everybody with, or one that they can look at aligned differently, or maybe drumming?
Well, first, I'd like to leave people with this: don't give up.
Hmm.
Don't give up hope, even though whatever you're going through now might seem really challenging or insurmountable. There's always hope. Jeremiah 29:11. Look it up.
Hmm.
God has made sure that He has given you all that you need to succeed, and He has given you hope and a future. So if you're feeling that uh, things are out of control, and you don't matter, or you don't know what to do at this stage of your life, I always tell people, take a breath, take a break, and take some beats. And that's where the drumming can
Wonderful.
come in really, really handy.
Well, I definitely appreciate you stepping in and being
Sure.
here on, within this conversation. It has like I said, it's been a fascinating conversation, and feeling that I'm sure there is a reason why I have a drum that I haven't used yet. So you have inspired me to take that drum out and find
Definitely.
some
So
beats,
is it
right?
a djembe like this, or what kind of drum is
Yes,
it?
it
All
is.
right. All
Uh,
right. All right.
so
You
so
can even go to my YouTube channel, which is Rock the Next Stage, or my
okay.
Facebook page, Next Stage Drumming. And there's some videos on there that I made just for fun to show people how to hold the drum. I even have one on how to make instruments with what you have at home. And
Okay.
I've done some for stress relief. And I also have a freebie on my website if anybody wanted to hop over to Next Stage drumming.com, and you'll
Great.
get my newsletter, which is very, very encouraging with tips and things like and motivation twice a month. But you'll also get a free video on how to beat stress in 5 minutes or less. So you want to
Okay.
check that out.
Well, that's great. Well, thank you again. We'll say our goodbyes in the green room if you're able to stay.
Sure. Yeah.
And but
Thanks so
this
much
has
for
been great.
having me. And I'm
Okay.
glad I was able to jump in and fill in for
Right.
my buddy
Uh,
Dan Galloway. So shout out to
right.
Dan.
Wonderful. Oh, wow. Um, yeah, just looking at how we're aligned, when we're aligned, what is our life saying to us? I don't know why that question has come up for me, but what is my life saying to me? What shift do I need to make? What thing that I need to tap into, find the rhythm, find the beat of? I think the conversation about align for me really is helping me to not stress it, but just kind of make that shift. There's a story that with within a sermon that was talking about a ship that was drifting, and at when there is not an awareness of your drifting, of your movement, you can end up anywhere. And I think a line for me and within this conversation, sometimes it will happen in trauma. And sometimes it's a still small voice that will allow us to just get a line. I hope you enjoyed this conversation. I am definitely going to be, checking out the website and dusting off that drum that I've had for a couple years. But if you found this conversation of value, I encourage you to go to I am William Brown to have a conversation with me and just to see how life is occurring to you and see if there's any alignment adjustments that you want to talk about. The world wants you, the world needs you, and the world is waiting for you. So go be you. Have a great rest of your day, and I will see you tomorrow.